Why do they put so much sugar in this?
And look, more corn syrup. We need to find something better.
Managing your weight is about more than just calories. It's about controlling your hunger hormones.
What if one of the most common breakfast foods in America was quietly speeding up the aging process? Not overnight, not dramatically, but little by little, day after day, year after year. What if the very food you've been told is quick, convenient, and even part of a balanced breakfast is actually triggering processes inside your body that scientists associate with faster aging? Think about that for a moment. Every morning, millions of Americans begin their day with foods they believe are harmless. Foods that look innocent. Foods that have become part of family traditions. Foods found in nearly every supermarket aisle. Yet, emerging research suggests that some of these breakfast staples may be doing something surprising beneath the surface, not just affecting weight, not just affecting blood sugar, but potentially influencing how quickly our bodies age, our skin, our brain, our energy levels, even the way our cells function. And here's the shocking part. Many people who are trying their hardest to be healthy are still eating these foods every single morning without realizing it. Today, we're uncovering the truth behind one breakfast category that health experts are becoming increasingly concerned about. But more importantly, we'll reveal what you can do instead.
And the answer might completely change how you look at breakfast forever. Stay with us. Because what happens inside your body after breakfast may be far more important than you've ever imagined. Let's begin with an important clarification. This video isn't about fear. It's about awareness. Aging is a natural part of life. No food can stop it completely. But modern science is increasingly showing that some foods may influence how fast or how slowly certain aspects of aging occur. One breakfast category repeatedly appears in discussions about accelerated aging: highly processed, sugary breakfast foods. This includes many sweetened cereals, pastries, frosted breakfast bars,
Sugar-loaded instant breakfasts, and certain flavored breakfast products marketed as healthy. Now, before you throw away everything in your pantry, let's understand why. The concern isn't necessarily one ingredient, it's the combination. Large amounts of added sugar, refined carbohydrates, artificial additives, low fiber, and nutrients stripped away during processing. Together, these factors may create the perfect storm for something researchers often refer to as oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. Two processes heavily linked with aging. But what exactly does that mean, and why should anyone care? To answer that, we need to go back in time.
Because the story begins long before modern supermarkets existed.
100 years ago, breakfast looked very different. Many families started their mornings with eggs, fresh fruit, whole grains, homemade foods, meals prepared from ingredients people could actually recognize. Then came the food revolution. As industrial food production expanded throughout the 20th century, convenience became king. Manufacturers discovered something powerful. People loved foods that were fast, sweet, affordable, and easy to store. Breakfast cereal exploded in popularity. Colorful packaging filled grocery stores. Advertisements promised energy, strength, health. Parents embraced convenience. Children loved the taste.
It seemed like a perfect solution. But over time, many breakfast products became increasingly processed. More sugar was added, more flavorings, more artificial ingredients. Meanwhile, fiber and natural nutrients often decreased. Today, some breakfast cereals contain sugar levels that nutrition experts compare to desserts. Think about that. Many people would never eat cookies at 7 in the morning. Yet some breakfast products can affect the body in surprisingly similar ways. And this leads us to one of the most fascinating discoveries in aging science. A process known alayhi salam, glycation. And once you understand it,
You'll never look at breakfast the same way again. Imagine taking a perfectly fresh apple. Now imagine leaving it out for weeks. Slowly, it begins to brown. Its structure changes. Its freshness fades. Inside the human body, something somewhat similar can happen when excess sugar repeatedly circulates through the bloodstream. Scientists call this process glycation. Without getting overly technical, glycation occurs when sugar molecules attach themselves to proteins. These unwanted compounds are known as advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. And despite the name sounding ironic,
many researchers believe excessive AGEs may contribute to signs commonly associated with aging, including changes in skin elasticity, reduced cellular efficiency, inflammation, and damage accumulation over time. Now, this doesn't mean eating one sugary breakfast suddenly ages you. Not at all. The concern is repetition, patterns, years of habits, small choices repeated thousands of times. Because aging isn't usually caused by one dramatic event. It's often the result of tiny processes happening quietly in the background, day after day, month after month, year after year. And here's where things become truly interesting.
the same breakfast foods associated with rapid blood sugar spikes may also affect energy, hunger, mood, and even brain function throughout the day, meaning the consequences could extend far beyond appearance alone. In the next section, we'll uncover what happens inside your body during the first 2 hours after eating a typical sugary breakfast. The answer surprises even many health-conscious people, and it may explain why so many individuals feel tired long before lunchtime.
Let's imagine 2 different mornings. Sarah starts her day with a large bowl of sweetened cereal and a glass of fruit-flavored juice. It tastes great, it's quick, it's convenient, and for the first 20 minutes, she feels fantastic. A burst of energy, a pleasant rush, a feeling that she's ready to take on the day. But inside her body, another story is unfolding. As the refined carbohydrates and sugars are rapidly digested, glucose begins entering the bloodstream at a fast pace. The body responds exactly as designed. Insulin is released. Cells begin pulling sugar from the blood. Everything seems normal. But here's where things get interesting.
For many people, especially when breakfast lacks fiber, protein, and healthy fats, that initial surge can be followed by a noticeable crash. Energy begins to drop. Focus becomes harder. Hunger returns surprisingly quickly. And suddenly, it's only 10 a.m. Sound familiar? If you've ever wondered why you're reaching for another snack just a few hours after breakfast, this could be part of the reason. The body thrives on stability, not extreme highs, not extreme lows. Steady energy tends to support better concentration, mood, and metabolic health. Yet many popular breakfast foods create the opposite experience, a roller coaster. Up, then down, then up again, then down again.
And over years, this pattern may contribute to broader health challenges. But energy crashes are only part of the story. Because one of the most surprising areas affected by breakfast choices is the brain itself. Most people think of breakfast as fuel for the body. But your brain is one of the biggest consumers of energy in your entire system. Even though it represents only a small percentage of your body weight, it uses a tremendous amount of energy every day. That means the quality of your breakfast matters. A lot. Researchers have long been interested in how blood sugar fluctuations affect mental performance. And the findings are fascinating.
When glucose levels swing dramatically, some people report difficulty concentrating, brain fog, irritability, mental fatigue, and reduced productivity. Think about the mornings when you feel sharp, focused, alert, motivated. Now compare them to mornings when you feel sluggish, distracted, and tired before noon. The difference may not always be sleep.
It may not always be stress. Sometimes breakfast plays a bigger role than we realize. And here's another fascinating possibility. Many nutrition experts now emphasize the importance of protecting long-term brain health. Why? Because healthy aging isn't just about looking younger. It's about maintaining independence, memory,
mental clarity, and quality of life. The choices we make repeatedly today may influence how we feel decades from now. That's why understanding breakfast is so important. Because it's one of the most repeated meals of our entire lives. Imagine making the same choice thousands of times over 30 years. Small decisions become powerful. And the next benefit may surprise you even more. Because breakfast doesn't just affect your brain. It may influence inflammation throughout the body.
If aging had a silent partner, many scientists would point toward chronic inflammation. Now let's be clear, inflammation itself isn't bad. In fact, it's essential. When you cut your finger, inflammation helps your body heal. When you fight an infection, inflammation helps protect you. The problem occurs when low-level inflammation remains active for long periods of time, month after month, year after year, without obvious symptoms. Some researchers even use the term inflammaging to describe the relationship between chronic inflammation and aging. It's a fascinating concept. The idea that tiny inflammatory processes may gradually influence how our bodies age over time.
And while no single food determines your future, dietary patterns matter a lot. Diets high in heavily processed foods, excessive added sugars, and nutrient-poor calories are often associated with increased inflammatory markers. Meanwhile, diets rich in whole foods tend to support healthier aging. This doesn't mean perfection. Nobody eats perfectly, and nobody should feel guilty about enjoying occasional treats. The goal is awareness, not fear. Progress, not perfection. Because the real question isn't whether one breakfast will change your life. The question is, what happens when a habit is repeated thousands of times?
And when we return, we'll explore some of the most surprising ways breakfast choices may influence weight gain, belly fat, metabolism, and even biological aging itself. What researchers have discovered might completely change how you build your morning meal. Here's something that surprises many people. Some breakfast foods that are marketed as healthy can actually leave you feeling hungrier than when you started. How is that possible? The answer lies in satiety. In simple terms, satiety is the feeling of fullness and satisfaction after eating. And not all foods create that feeling equally. Imagine two breakfasts. One contains sugary cereal and sweetened milk.
The other contains eggs, berries, nuts, and plain Greek yogurt. Both might contain similar calories, but many people will stay full much longer after the second meal. Why? Because protein, fiber, and healthy fats help slow digestion and support more stable energy. Meanwhile, heavily processed foods often digest quickly, causing hunger to return sooner. And when hunger returns early, many people begin snacking, then another snack, then an extra coffee drink, then something sweet in the afternoon. By the end of the day, the problem wasn't breakfast alone. It was the chain reaction breakfast started.
This is one reason nutrition experts increasingly focus not only on calories, but also on food quality. Because the foods that keep us satisfied may help us naturally eat less throughout the day. And when it comes to healthy aging, maintaining a healthy body composition becomes increasingly important over time. But weight isn't the only concern. There's another system deeply connected to breakfast choices: your metabolism.
Metabolism is often misunderstood. Many people imagine metabolism a simple calorie-burning engine. But it's much more complex than that. Metabolism involves countless chemical processes happening every second inside your body, turning food into energy, repairing cells, supporting hormones, maintaining body temperature, keeping organs functioning. In many ways, metabolism is life itself. The challenge arises when highly processed foods dominate the diet. These foods often deliver large amounts of rapidly available energy while providing relatively little nutritional support. The body receives calories, but not always the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber it needs to thrive. Think of it like fueling a high-performance car. The engine may run, but over time, quality matters. The same principle applies to the human body. And researchers studying longevity repeatedly observe one consistent pattern. People who age well often consume diets centered around minimally processed foods, not because they're perfect, but because those foods provide the building blocks the body needs to repair and maintain itself. And speaking of repair, let's talk about one of the most visible signs of aging: your skin. When most people think about aging, they think about wrinkles, fine lines, sagging skin, changes in appearance. But what if some of those changes begin much deeper than the surface? Remember glycation? The process we discussed earlier where excess sugar can attach to proteins? One of the proteins most often discussed in relation to glycation is collagen. Collagen helps provide structure and elasticity to the skin. It's one of the reasons youthful skin appears firm and resilient. As we age naturally, collagen production declines. That's normal. But some researchers believe excessive glycation may place additional stress on collagen and related structures. Again, this isn't about one breakfast. It's about long-term patterns.
The goal isn't to eliminate every gram of sugar forever. The goal is to avoid turning high sugar foods into a daily habit, because the habits we repeat most often tend to have the greatest impact. And here's something fascinating. Many of the same dietary habits associated with healthier skin are also associated with healthier hearts, which brings us to another crucial piece of the puzzle.
Your heart performs one of the most incredible jobs in the human body, day and night, without rest, without vacation, without pause. It beats approximately 100,000 times every single day, for decades. Think about that. A machine working continuously for 80 years would be considered a miracle. Yet your heart does exactly that, which is why supporting cardiovascular health matters so much. Many experts recommend focusing on dietary patterns that emphasize fiber-rich foods: fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, and other minimally processed options. These foods don't just support heart health. They support overall wellness. And here's the truly exciting part. Some of the best breakfast alternatives to highly processed foods may support multiple systems simultaneously: heart health, brain health, energy, digestion, healthy aging, all at once. But what are those foods? What should you actually eat instead? And why do some of the world's longest living populations start their mornings so differently from the average modern breakfast? The answer may be simpler than you think. And in the next chapter, we'll explore the breakfast habits found in some of the healthiest populations on Earth and what they can teach us about living longer, feeling younger, and aging more gracefully. What if the secret to healthier aging isn't hidden inside an expensive supplement, or an exclusive wellness program, or a trendy social media hack? What if it's been sitting on dinner tables for generations? Around the world, researchers have studied regions often referred to as blue zones. These are areas where people tend to live longer and remain active later in life. While each culture is unique, a fascinating pattern appears again and again. The people who age exceptionally well often eat remarkably simple foods. Not perfect foods, not magical foods, simple foods, whole foods, foods their grandparents would recognize. In many of these communities, breakfast isn't dominated by ultra-processed products. Instead, mornings often include foods rich in fiber, natural nutrients, healthy fats, and plant compounds. Oats, beans, fruit, nuts, seeds, vegetables, whole grains. Meals designed more by tradition than by marketing. And perhaps that's one of the most important lessons. The human body evolved around real food, not food engineered to maximize cravings, not food designed to stay on shelves for years. Real food.
Prepared simply, consumed consistently. And here's where the story becomes even more fascinating. Because many of these breakfast choices support nearly every major system in the body. Let's explore how.
Everything starts in the gut. In recent years, scientists have become increasingly interested in the trillions of microorganisms living inside our digestive system, often called the gut microbiome. These tiny organisms help influence digestion, immune function, nutrient absorption, and potentially much more. Foods rich in fiber help nourish beneficial gut bacteria, but many highly processed breakfast foods contain very little fiber. That's one reason people often feel hungry again so quickly. Fiber slows digestion, supports regularity, and helps create a more satisfying meal. Think of fiber as one of the body's natural tools for stability, not excitement.
Not instant gratification, stability. And Alaya Salam, you'll see, stability is a recurring theme in healthy aging. Most people think about immunity when cold and flu season arrives, but your immune system works every single day, every hour, every minute, supporting and protecting you. To do that effectively, it needs nutrients, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants. Whole food breakfasts often provide these compounds naturally. Meanwhile, highly processed breakfasts may provide plenty of calories, but relatively little nutritional support. It's like hiring workers but not giving them the tools they need. The body can still function, but not always optimally.
And over decades, those differences can add up. Imagine having fewer energy crashes, fewer moments when your brain suddenly feels foggy, fewer afternoons where all you can think about is another cup of coffee. This is one reason many people transition away from highly processed breakfasts, not because they're chasing perfection, but because they notice a difference. More stable energy, better concentration, improved productivity. The goal isn't endless energy. The goal is consistent energy, the kind that helps you feel like yourself throughout the day.
And consistency is one of the most underrated ingredients of long-term health. Blood sugar balance isn't only important for people with diabetes, it's important for everyone. Stable blood sugar supports energy, mood, focus, and overall metabolic health. One of the simplest ways to support this is by combining protein, fiber, and healthy fats at breakfast, instead of relying primarily on refined sugars and processed carbohydrates. Small change, potentially significant impact, repeated thousands of times over a lifetime.
Here's something many people never connect. The breakfast you eat in the morning may influence how you feel at night. Why? Because sleep isn't an isolated event. It's influenced by what happens throughout the day. Energy stability, stress levels, physical activity, nutrition. All of these factors interact. When energy crashes and cravings dominate the day, people often compensate with extra caffeine, sugary snacks, and irregular eating patterns. Sometimes that cycle continues all the way into the evening. But when the day begins with a more balanced foundation, the entire rhythm of the day can feel different. And healthy aging depends heavily on sleep.
During sleep, the body repairs, restores, rebalances. It's one of the closest things we have to a daily reset button. But here's the biggest surprise yet. The breakfast foods most associated with healthy aging aren't necessarily expensive. They're not exotic, and they're not difficult to find. In fact, many of them are already sitting in your local grocery store right now. Coming up next, we'll reveal some of the most powerful breakfast alternatives, expose common breakfast myths that millions still believe, and uncover several real-life stories of people who experienced remarkable changes after making surprisingly simple adjustments to their morning routine.
What happened to them may inspire you to rethink your own breakfast tomorrow morning. Let's talk about something powerful. Not food, not science, beliefs. Because sometimes the biggest obstacle to better health isn't what we eat, it's what we think we know. One of the most common breakfast myths is this: if it's sold as a breakfast food, it must be healthy. Sounds reasonable, but history tells a different story. Food companies are incredibly good at marketing. Words like whole grain, natural, made with real fruit, source of vitamins, can create a powerful health halo. Yet the ingredient list often tells a more complete story.
Some products contain significant amounts of added sugars while still appearing healthy on the front of the package. That's why nutrition experts encourage people to look beyond the marketing. And here's another myth. Low fat automatically means healthy. For decades, many foods removed fat but added sugar to improve taste. The result? Consumers often believed they were making a healthier choice while unknowingly increasing sugar intake. Then there's another surprisingly common belief. Eating healthy requires spending a fortune. In reality, some of the most nutrient-dense breakfast foods are also among the most affordable. Oats, beans, eggs, frozen berries, plain yogurt,
Peanuts, bananas. The foundation of a healthy breakfast doesn't have to be complicated. And speaking of simplicity, let's look at what happens when ordinary people make surprisingly small changes. Imagine Michael, 52 years old, busy career, long hours. Every morning began the same way. Subiri cereal, flavored coffee drink. And by 10 o'clock, he felt exhausted, hungry, distracted. After learning more about balanced breakfasts, Michael made a simple experiment. He replaced his cereal with oats, berries, walnuts, and Greek yogurt. Nothing dramatic happened overnight. But after several weeks, he noticed something interesting. His mornings felt steadier, his cravings decreased, and his energy remained more consistent throughout the day. The lesson? Small changes often create the most sustainable results. Linda was 61.
She believed she was eating a healthy breakfast. After all, it was marketed as healthy. But when she checked the nutrition label, she discovered it contained more added sugar than she realized. So she began focusing on fiber, more fruit, more oats, more whole foods. Within weeks, she reported feeling fuller longer and experiencing fewer mid-morning cravings. Again, no miracle, no magic, just consistency. And that's what healthy aging is often about: consistency. Jason thought his afternoon fatigue was caused by work stress. But after tracking his eating habits, he noticed a pattern. His biggest energy crashes followed his highest sugar breakfasts.
When he switched toward meals containing more protein and fiber, he noticed improved focus during the workday. The difference wasn't dramatic at first, but over time, it became undeniable. His mornings stopped feeling like a roller coaster. Mistake number 1: starting the day with mostly sugar. Whether it's cereal, pastries, or sweetened beverages, excessive sugar can create energy instability. Mistake number 2: ignoring protein. Protein helps support muscle maintenance, especially important as we age. Mistake number 3. Not getting enough fiber. Fiber supports digestion, satiety, and metabolic health. Mistake number 4. Drinking calories without realizing it.
Many coffee beverages contain dessert-level amounts of sugar. Mistake number 5. Assuming convenience always equals health. Some convenient foods are excellent. Others are simply well marketed. The key is awareness, not perfection. Awareness.
So what does a longevity-focused breakfast actually look like? Nutrition experts often recommend building breakfast around 4 key pillars: protein, fiber, healthy fats, and minimally processed foods. For example, oatmeal with berries and walnuts, Greek yogurt with fruit and chia seeds, vegetable omelets with avocado, whole grain toast paired with eggs, a smoothie built around real ingredients instead of added sugars. Notice what's missing: extremes. The healthiest breakfasts are often surprisingly simple. And now we arrive at perhaps the most important part of our journey, because understanding breakfast is valuable.
But understanding why healthy aging matters is transformational. In the final chapter, we'll explore the emotional side of longevity, reveal practical habits you can begin tomorrow morning, and uncover one powerful truth that many people don't realize until it's almost too late. And that truth may completely change how you think about your next breakfast. Let's pause for a moment, because this story has never really been about cereal, or sugar, or breakfast foods. It's about something much deeper. Time. The one thing every person on Earth receives, and the one thing nobody can buy back. Most people don't wake up one morning and suddenly feel old. Aging happens quietly.
Gradually, almost invisibly, one day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 year. And before we know it, decades have passed. That's why healthy aging isn't about trying to stay 20 forever. It's about preserving the things that matter most. Having the energy to play with your grandchildren, taking long walks with the person you love, traveling, laughing, learning, living independently, waking up excited about life. The goal isn't merely adding years to life, it's adding life to years. And sometimes the smallest daily habits help shape that future, including breakfast. Because breakfast isn't just a meal, it's often the first health decision of the day.
And every decision creates momentum.
Alayhi salam, we come to the end of this journey. Remember something important. Your body is always listening. Every meal, every habit, every choice. Not in a judgmental way, but in a biological way. Your body is constantly adapting to the signals you provide. And while no single food determines your destiny, your daily patterns matter more than most people realize. The breakfast food that may be secretly accelerating aging isn't dangerous because of one bite. It's dangerous because of repetition. Because habits become lifestyles. And lifestyles become outcomes. The good news? You don't need a perfect diet. You don't need expensive supplements.
You don't need extreme rules. You simply need awareness, a willingness to make slightly better choices more often. Because healthy aging isn't built in a day, it's built day by day, breakfast by breakfast, choice by choice, year by year. And one day, your future self may thank you for the decisions you make today. If you found this video valuable, take a moment to share it with someone you care about. Because the best health information isn't just something we keep for ourselves, it's something we pass on. And before you leave, we'd love to hear from you. What does your typical breakfast look like? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for spending this time with us.
Stay curious, stay healthy, and remember, the path to a longer, healthier life often begins with the smallest choices we make every morning. We'll see you in the next video.